Government Oz Aid and produced by Nima in collaboration with Win FM.
Voices has a new time. Starting Friday, January 24, tune in from 10 to 12 on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays for Voices right after Island Tea on Win FM. Money Matters with Dr. Terrence Martin moves to Monday afternoons from 1 to 2 p.m. Inside the News on Saturday mornings, now 10 to 12 noon. Tune in to Win FM 98.9. Log on to winmediaskn.com and our YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch pages. And let's go. Keep up with the news on our website and by following our Win Media SKN channel on WhatsApp. Message your comments or call Win FM at 466-0989, 662-0989, or call our U.S. numbers from anywhere, 718-285-6984, 305-921-4619, and call our sales office at 466-9586. Voices, now 10 to 12 a.m. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Money Matters, 1 to 2 p.m. Monday afternoon. And Inside the News, Saturdays, 10 to 12 noon on Win FM 98.9.
Welcome to Island Tea with your faves. Keep it locked in with us for your daily dose of hot tea only on Win Media 98.9.
Good morning, and how are we doing this lovely Monday morning? It is the 28th day of April. We have 2 more days before the month comes to an end. Yes, in this year 2025, it is just about 22 minutes after the hour of 8 here in our studio at Win FM. Welcome to today's edition of Island Tea, to the regional and international diaspora. Good morning to the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Good morning wherever we are in, well, I should say wherever you can hear us in the world. Good morning, and welcome. Just to remind you, we are simulcast on TVC, Channel 40, Facebook, and YouTube. I know you heard the numbers before, but I'm going to repeat them again. I'm going to start with the local ones. It's 466-0989 or 662-0989. In the U.S., 305-921-4619 or 718-285-6984. In the UK, good morning, UN, 0333-440065. And to all our listeners, wherever you are, our regulars, good morning. I hope you're having a great morning today. Quint, how are you doing today?
I'm quite fine, thank you.
All right. And I see over the weekend we had a few road accidents. I'll start the weekend from Thursday, because that's the one. I think Thursday night we had one in the Canada State.
Okay.
The next day I saw somebody ran over there by Keys down into that ditch.
Gut.
I hope they're all fine into that gut, yeah. But the call for us to be safe on the road. See, I'm just thinking about safety. For us to be safe on the road continues. And as we lead into traffic talk this morning, that's at 8:30 this morning. Here's an article that I just want to touch on, and it says, DPP Adlai Smith updates nation on charges in 2 fatal road incidents amidst calls for greater road safety vigilance. And this story is by Kevin Brown. It's on winfm.com for those of you who would like to read. The Director of Public Prosecutions, Adlai Smith, has provided a comprehensive update to the Federation regarding the status of investigations into 2 tragic and fatal vehicular accidents that have recently gripped the nation, underscoring a firm stance on road safety and the urgent need for a cultural change in driver behavior. Addressing the nation, the DPP, what am I saying? I hope I'm not saying DPP, but it's DPP. Smith announced citizens and residents of the Federation of St. Christopher and Nevis and further afield. The Director of Public Prosecution Offices advised that Lennox Nathaniel Graves of Molyneux, St. Kitts, has been formally charged with causing death by careless driving, contrary to Section 50, subsection 4 of the Vehicles and Road Traffic Act, in relation to the fatal accident which led to the death of Dr. Simonette Williams. This tragic incident occurred on the night of December the 20th, 2024, along the St. Peter's Main Road in the vicinity of New Road. Following a meticulous review of all available evidence, including expert analysis from a professional road accident investigator, it was determined that Greaves, while driving an SUV licensed P9071, collided with Dr. Williams, who was a pedestrian at the time, while driving towards Bastia. Importantly, the investigation cleared any suspicion of foul play or deliberate intent on the part of the driver. The evidence does not support the existence of foul play nor deliberate intent on the part of the driver in relation to the cause of Dr. Williams' death, the DPP office stated.
Yeah.
Graves was arrested and charged at the Bassett Police Station on April 22, 2025. Turning to a separate or related concern, DPP Smith outlined a second case involving a charge of manslaughter by gross negligence connected to a fatal accident on March 22, 2025. The Director of Public Prosecution's Office has advised the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force to charge an individual with manslaughter by gross negligence in relation to a fatal road accident which occurred on March 22, 2025, along the Island Main Road in the vicinity of Whitegate Date Bay. The victim in this case was Miss Shanique Vinnie Harvey, also of Date Bay. The DPP confirmed, emphasizing that the specifics would be addressed during court proceedings. Clarifying the gravity of such charges, DPP Smith explained, now, what is manslaughter by gross negligence? Well, manslaughter by gross negligence arises when a person having a duty to take reasonable care breaches that duty so seriously that it results in the death of another. Now, in the context of road usage, this can include reckless or dangerous driving practices. It is a very serious offense that carries a maximum penalty of life imprisonment. Let me repeat that again. Causing death in these circumstances, manslaughter by gross negligence carries a maximum penalty of life imprisonment. Now, that's the article. I'm just not repeating it again, okay? This stern reminder signals a decisive shift away from treating fatal road accidents as mere traffic infractions towards prosecuting serious breaches that endanger lives. So I'm just going to go to the end for those of you who want to read it. The road safety message is unmistakable. Be warned. Drive carefully and respect the previous lives that depend on every decision made behind. Sorry. That was supposed to be precious lives.
Heritage matters to me. Heritage matters to you. Join me, Percival Hanley, this coming Friday and every other Friday at 10 a.m. to 12 noon for Heritage Matters on Win Media SKN 98.9. Heritage matters to me. Heritage matters to you.
Ricardo, my hair is almost done. Could you pick me up? I got my nails done too, so walk with a little extra money?
I'm almost there. Forgot the extra money, but you know, happy wife, happy life. Looks like the salon has first pay. QR code scanned, funds sent, paid.
For quick transfer with just an email, mobile number, or QR code, use First Pay from CIBC Caribbean. Visit cibccaribbean.com/ways to bank for more information.
Hey, have you heard about the water shortage in our area?
Yeah, it's pretty serious. I've been trying to conserve water as much as possible.
Me too. I've started taking shorter showers and turning off the faucet when I brush my teeth.
Well, that's great. Another way to save water is to fix any leaks in your house.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that. How much water can a leak waste?
A small leak can waste up to 20 gallons of water daily, which can really add up over time.
Wow, that's a lot. And have to check for any leaks in my house.
But another good tip is to only run your dishwasher and washing machine when they are full to save water and energy.
I'll keep that in mind. It's important that we all do our part to conserve water, especially during this shortage.
Absolutely. Every drop counts.
This message was brought to you by the St. Kitts Water Services Department. Learn more at water.gov.kn.
Imagine life as a cricket match. You're playing well, enjoying the game, when suddenly an unexpected delivery comes your way. A critical illness can be that surprise bouncer. Fast, unpredictable, and challenging. Having critical illness insurance can be your game changer, providing financial support when you need it most. Don't wait for the unexpected. Get the right coverage with a critical illness insurance solution from Sagicor. For more information, visit sagicor.com today. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome to Island Tea with your faves. Keep it locked in with us for your daily dose.
The importance of co-parenting. Every child has the right to bond with the parents that gave them life. Children are happiest when they can freely communicate and enjoy the time, talents, and lessons that each parent brings to the relationship.
We make co-parenting difficult when we focus on differences rather than what is in the best interest of our children. Parents, your relationship with each other should never affect the relationship you have with your child. Celebrate your children together. They deserve your best. A message brought to you by the Department of Probation and Child Protection Services. Contact us at 467-1311 or 662-6833 for more information.
It's the start of the week. It's time for a new perspective. It's time for Unfiltered. Join Azar Gums, lawyer and deputy leader of the People's Action Movement, for raw and unfiltered political analysis of the current events in St. Kitts and Nevis. Tune in every Sunday evening from 7:30 p.m. on Win FM. Join Azar Gums as he breaks the mantle and cuts through the unfiltered political noise to bring you the facts. Unfiltered every Sunday evening on Win FM 98.9.
Welcome to Island Tea with your faves. Keep it locked in with us for your daily dose of hot tea, only on Win Media 98.9.
Good morning again, and welcome back to Island Tea. And as promised, it's time for Traffic Talk, and we have the officers in studio with us. Good morning to all three of you, and welcome back.
Good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
All right, so we're going to start with Officer Bell.
Yes. Good morning, Radio Land. My name is Constable Bell. I'm a senior constable at the Traffic Department. With me today I have Constable Nisbet, who is also a senior constable, and one of our superiors, Sergeant Henry, who will just be sitting in today. Today we have a number of topics we plan to go through. Mainly about road safety, speeding, tints, and accidents. Okay, we have to take these real serious. We're having fatal accidents for the year. People are crying out. So we just want to encourage persons to drive safe and at the same time enforce the law to ensure that persons are keeping in accordance with the law. I will let Constable Nisbet introduce himself, and then I will.
Okay, my name is Constable Nisbet. Yes. Saying good morning.
Okay, before we start, I just want to give a bit of stats comparing the period for this year up to April and last year from January to April. Okay, for this year we have had 5 lives lost to road fatality. Compared to last year, during this timing, it was only 1. Speeding tickets for last year during this period also was 263 tickets for speeding. And for this year, we have had 621 speeding tickets so far. 621.
This is almost 3 times the amount. Wow. Okay.
Yes, and you could imagine we've been here on the radio encouraging people to drive safe, keep within the speed limit. We go all over, we try to educate persons, yet the numbers are increasing. So I don't know what we are doing wrong. Tints. Tint for last year was this is for windscreen, the front and rear. 107. 107. And for this year, we have had 146.
Oh wow.
I'm still waiting for the stats for last year with the tinted windows, but for this year we have already had 259 tickets for tinted windows.
Okay.
For last year it was 181. So I read these stats just to show that we are here trying to educate the public. The persons keep saying, oh, y'all don't give chance, y'all don't give warnings, but the more we talk, the more the numbers increase. And I'm trying to figure out what are we doing wrong. So I just want to encourage drivers, please educate yourself on the law. Please enforce the law and encourage your partners to drive safe. Okay? Also today, pertaining with the tint, we have previously made an amendment for persons who have buses or any vehicles to advertise whatever business they're promoting. Some persons misunderstood or pretend to misunderstand, and they are not staying in accordance to what we provide for them. Okay? So we will just explain in depth what the changes were and what we expect from them.
So this is the business establishments that do the tint?
No, the persons who have, okay, for example, you may be advertising for WinFM. WinFM might have a bus. So once the bus does not have seats in the back where passengers will be sitting, they can tint or film the side to advertise whatever promotion WinFM or whoever is having.
Oh, okay.
Okay? But the front and rear windscreen, the tint law still applies 35% and 10 inches from the top for the front windscreen.
Okay, understood what you're saying.
Yes. Persons are filming the entire vehicle, the side front doors that persons are sitting, where we have to see the passengers, we have to see who is driving. Okay? And also if you have the front windows tinted, you cannot see through your rear view mirrors unless you're turning them down. Okay? The amendment is not for persons to hide their equipments. It's not for persons to hide anything that they have in their vehicle because they are afraid of persons stealing it. If you have those concerns, you write to the Ministry of National Security, who will liaise with the Commissioner of Police, and you ask for permission. Okay? So the amendment is not for persons to film their whole vehicles and say, oh, I have a lot of equipment in my vehicle, I have to hide this, or tint it extremely dark. No. Okay. So a lot of persons are misunderstanding what the amendment was for.
Okay.
Have anything to input so far? Okay, so I will just read the notice that was sent out on behalf of the police force. The licensing authority have approved new guidelines for tint on commercial vans. Commercial vans that are exclusively used for cargo purpose and do not have rear passenger seating are permitted to cover their rear side windows with tint below 35% or advertising material. That's the film or whatever sticker they might want to have on. Okay? This allowance applies to only vans where the rear side windows are not essential for drivers' visibility and where no passenger seating is installed. Okay? The rear windscreen and the front window of these commercial vans must conform with the existing tint regulation, which requires a minimum of 35% transmittance. So as I explained, it's just for the rear side windows, it's not for the rear door, and it's not for the front windscreen. Okay? And passenger buses or the bus, whatever the van is, the front, directly front doors, the driver door and the front passenger seat door, those must be conforming with the tint regulation also.
So for a business that may, let's say like one of the vans, I don't want to use anybody specific because there are some I don't want to call anybody out. Okay, so let me use myself. Let's pretend. So I have a business. I cannot put anything that advertise my business on the back windscreen.
No.
But I can put it around the bus up to the side. So at the bottom of the windscreen on the back, up to the sides of the buses. Can I put it on the front of the bus as well?
Yes, once it's not covering the windows.
The wind. Okay. Oh, so I can't put it on the windows, you said?
It has to be on the side.
Just on the side?
Yeah, it has to be on the body.
Okay.
If you're putting it to the front.
And on the side is on the body as well?
On the side, to the rear, you can have them on the windows.
Okay, so I could bring them up.
Once there's no seat, okay, for example, let me use Island Bakery. They have the bread bus. The entire back is used just to transport the bread, the pastries.
Yes,
everything.
got you.
But to the front, you have the driver door and a passenger door who may be helping the driver.
Yes.
Those doors, those windows must conform with the tint regulation, 35%. To the back where the bread and the pastries are, the windows can be filmed, they can be tinted, they can be covered because they're not sitting behind there, they're just for bread. Okay? Whatever advertisement they have, they could use it and put it on the side.
Okay.
But once it reaches to the back, even though the door to the back might have numbers to call if the person is driving safe or reckless, some businesses do that. They cannot cover the windscreen.
The windscreen, yeah,
They
got you.
cannot cover the windscreen.
Yeah.
And the same, if they're continuing the advertisement to the front, even though it's on the door, it must be on the body, not the windows.
Not the windows. Got you.
Okay? So, persons who transported maybe music equipment, construction equipment, they saw that ad, the notice that went out, and a lot of people were misled. They tinted the whole windscreen to the back, and they say, "Oh, you guys sent out a notice if we have no seating in the back." But if they did read into depth, they would realize it was just for the rear side windows.
Yeah.
Rear
Not
side windows.
for the back window.
Not for the back.
Or the back glass. We
Or
said
the
the back
back
glass,
glass,
yeah. Okay. Sergeant Henry, Constable Nisbet, anything to add?
Not about the tint,
Okay.
but I just want to talk about the reckless driving and the careless driving that we have, causing death by driving and all of those things. We have a lot of those things happening now. As you see, the numbers has increased in this year, right? So, reckless driving or dangerous driving means any person driving a motor vehicle on a road recklessly at a speed or in a manner is dangerous to the public. Having regard to all the circumstances in the case, including the nature of the road, the conditions of the road, the amount of vehicles on the road, and the timing it happened. Right? That is dangerous driving or reckless driving. Right? The fines for that is not exceeding $4,000 or imprisonment. You're going to serve time, hard labor.
Just to summarize what the act stated that Nisbet just read, before we charge someone that was involved in an accident and we assume that they were the cause of the accident, for reckless or dangerous driving, those are the stuff that we have to take in consideration. The nature, the area where the accident happened, the amount of persons that we presume to have been there would be there on a regular basis, the manner in which they drove, and other small factors, but these are the main factors that we look for. For example, we have an accident here at the stoplight, just down to the bottom of the road. You know, sometimes persons make a right turn there. Now, there's a sign there saying no right turn, but you're ignorant and you make the right turn still. You know, crossing the path of someone right away. So you're causing danger to them unnecessarily, intentionally, because you refuse to comply with the traffic sign. That's reckless driving. Even if a death is not caused, that's reckless driving. You could get charged for reckless driving and for the accident itself. Yeah. Okay? If someone get in an accident and they die, but we can see it wasn't anything of reckless or dangerous driving. However, it's because of that accident an individual died. But we have no points to prove that, hey, the road was crowded, the person was driving at a high speed, the person saw the person and refused to stop, or anything like that. Once it's nothing like that, they will be charged for causing the death of that person, but it would be by careless driving, which is the minimum charge.
So there won't be no fault or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
So before we charge persons in accidents, cause I know sometimes you will say, okay, we had a fatal accident, and then person will say, how come nobody get charged yet, this and that. But it's a lot of process the police have to go through. One, to ensure that there were fear to the person that they're charging, and two, to ensure that whatever actions they took could be justified. So, because we don't want to just charge somebody to please the public, and then the government has a suit behind them because they cannot prove their case. So, it's a lot for the police, and it's a lot for the public.
Because prior to this program starting, I was reading an article which concerns the late Dr. Williams that was struck and that died last December, and it has all of that information in it, and the person finally being charged. So now I understand what you're saying from an investigation had to be done before it could have come to the before they, because everybody was saying nobody's doing anything. Because we don't want to just get up and charge somebody as we would say wild, and then yes, it might bring a little relief to the deceased family. When the case is tried now, and then the police cannot prove the case, and that person walk, one, that person sue the state, and two, that family now hates the police or the system because they do a sloppy job. Yeah. But in the beginning, when they said, hey, we charge somebody, they were happy. Yeah, because at least they know someone's being held for what had happened.
Yes, but we also have to do our job fair and without favor. So sometimes people is going to vex with the police that they take the time and they ain't lock up nobody yet and stuff like that. But we have to do our job without fear or favor, not because the person die, I know the person lock up somebody wildly. I have to take my time and do my job. I was just reminded that the amendment was changed for reckless driving and dangerous driving. The fee is at $6,000, right? Not $4,000.
Alrighty then. So who wants to drive reckless? It's $2,000 on that.
Yes. Remember January this year? It was February. It was changed. Yes. Instead of $4,000, it's $6,000. 2, or imprisonment or without hard labor for a term not exceeding 1 year. That's if the person didn't sustain any bodily injury.
Okay.
And summary conviction where there is bodily injury to another person to a fine not exceeding $8,000 or to imprisonment with or without hard labor not exceeding 2 years. And where there is no bodily injury to another person to imprisonment with or without hard labor for a term not exceeding 3 years. And on second conviction, if they have a second conviction, then the fine has gone up to $20,000. To imprisonment with or without hard labor not exceeding 4 years, or to both such fine and imprisonment. So you could also fine, and you could serve term in prison.
And
that's on second conviction.
And just to add to what the SAD said, those are just fines that the state charge. That has nothing to do with the civil suit or whatever they. Just to repeat, those fees are just what would be charged on behalf of the state. If there's a civil suit behind of that, that has nothing to do with these fees.
So you have to pay the state, and then you still have to pay the person if they put a lawyer on you, as you would say locally.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
So, and as to add to what the sergeant said with second conviction, with the stats that they gave you, especially for speeding and tinting, sometimes these numbers are added up from the same drivers. Sometimes you give a driver a ticket for speeding, maybe last month. The same area, you're at the same area every time you go and you do a VCP. You give them a ticket for speeding in that area. You go back the next month, you give them a ticket there again. Tint, sometimes you take off the tint there, you ask them, okay, we're going to give you the opportunity to take off the tint and warn you. They take off the tint because they probably didn't have any money to pay at the time. They get the warning and they go. They come back, they have the tint even darker on the front of the windscreen. They have no excuse for you but tell you, hey, you're targeting us. But we're not going to look for people. We're here at a stationary post doing our job. And they're coming through, violating our job. So we're stopping them. Because if we allow them to pass, then what are the purpose with us being on the road? And you see, when things happen, the public cry out to the police, y'all need to go out on the road more, y'all need to do this, y'all need to do that. When we're out on the road, the same public come and say, y'all harassing us. So no matter what you do, you cannot please the public, but at the same time, we're not trying to be out there being harassing anybody.
Understood.
But at the same time, we want to preserve life. And one of the main factors to these fatal accidents, speeding. And I don't think you could come here every day and talk about speeding and it's enough. Because we're gonna be here speaking, we're gonna go at the radio another radio station, we're gonna speak again, and then probably in the next hour or the next day, you could get 60 tickets for speeding.
But, okay, so we know we're not listening when it comes, and I'm gonna say we. I'm not proud of the speeding body, but I'm just gonna include myself. Do you think when we didn't talk a lot, there were less accidents? Because I don't understand with all the education that we're given, me being part of it as well, me begging, admonishing everybody to act right, to see the whatever. What is happening? And
that's the same question I asked earlier. I said I don't know what we are doing wrong because from last year to this year,
it's a big jump.
Myself, Constable Nisbet, other officers from the traffic department, we visit different places. We go to the schools, we come on the radio, we try to encourage persons, we're begging, and the stats increasing.
Yes, but that is the reason why the government decided to increase the fees. We recommended that the fees increase because
they're not afraid
people.
Of the fees.
That's
you
the
realize
thing.
they're not afraid
right?
of the fees.
That's the thing.
So something
right?
else had to be had.
So we have to come with a different plan now. No, we already got the fees increase. We have to come with something else because even when we do VCPs, when it comes to the tint, people inform others that we are on the road doing our job, as you know, send around messages and flash one another as they're passing by to indicate that the police in it. So for you to take a back road, right? So you're trying to avoid the tint. Police giving you a ticket for the tint or removing your tint, putting your vehicle in order for via law. Right? But you prefer to drive on a back road to mash up your shocks and burn your shocks than to just take off the tint and comply with the law.
The persons that tint, let's come to them. Are they aware? Do you know who they are? Have you educated them? Because we have the tint being a problem, the way the license plates are made being a problem, and all these things. Are these persons educated? Do you know who they are? Can you go and I say, oh, Constable Bell, Sergeant Henry did my, or Miss Henry did my tint. Do you go and speak to Miss Henry and let her know, like, this is not what the law says? Do you show her that law?
We does that, right? I have been by a tint gentleman already, and someone came to put 5% tint on the vehicle. I was not on duty. I was lineman, right? The person came. The person said, "I will like 5%." The gentleman told him, "The police is gonna remove it. You cannot put on 5%." I want on the 5% still. Police ain't and catch me, right? Just like that. The gentleman put on the 5%, because that's business for him, right? But he already warned him,
but you
right? But you still refuse to listen to the gentleman.
But you couldn't say anything, although you were lineman?
I told him that he's going to get catch with the tint. He said, when he get catch, he just take it off. But for now, he wants it on. And that is the behavior.
But it is not allowed. Why should the individual have a 5% tint anyways?
Yeah, but the tint man cannot tell him no and then he go buy somebody else. The tint man wants to make money same way. Right? It is a business. Right? If I already warn you and tell you, do not do it, and you still want me to put it on for you, it's your responsibility. You're going to get catch, you know.
But the tint man shouldn't put it on because he's enabling the person.
No, how he going to make money? His job is to put on tint.
Do right by God and he can do right by you.
To my and this is my personal opinion, just how something was set in place for plastic bags to stop being imported here for use, I think something could be set in place for tint, unless there's an approval from the government that, hey, this tint exceeding 35% could be imported for this specific use.
I was just going to say that.
Then that would help us a lot. So, like when you walk in automotive ads, or you see, you have options, 5%, 20%, 35%. We cannot tell them to take it down because, one, we didn't restrict them from importing it. So we cannot know after they spent their money to import these things to stop them from selling it.
And
but who can have 5%?
But remember, it's not only vehicle they put tint on. Remember, person put on the windows at home.
And I got that. So then we need to have a law that says 5% can only be used on commercial and personal properties.
And
not
that's what you guys
it's in law. It's in law.
But then why that person still put on the 5 for that person and they say they're going to take it off when they get catch? That makes sense.
Because that is what they choose to do.
Excuse, they said, who said this sun bother the eyes? Who said this? I mean, okay, we understand everybody have different medical issues, but can we get it in writing? And you cannot just get up and go to your doctor and your doctor just give a letter. We have to have a second opinion, because you know how persons could just, hey, I can go to my doctor tomorrow, I want a sick leave.
Yeah.
We're not going to just encourage that. Otherwise, we're going to have a problem.
A big one.
We're going to have a problem.
So for now, when persons put on that is illegal, we deal with them from the police point of view. Yes.
You had to deal with them today. If we had to deal with them
yes,
next
but then
days?
Since they have more money than sense,
better
so every time you take it off and put it back on, then we're going to do that. Yes, that's how some people operate.
Because they prefer to give the government the money than to keep it in their pocket. So we just have to do what we have to do.
You know what I think, and people might get upset. You get a charge, you pay me my $6,000 by Friday. You don't have my $6,000, you go sit down. Because it's obvious that we're not listening and we don't care.
Because even down to car seat, the fee increased it to $500. But yet you see drivers driving around. A little 6-month-old or even 1-year-old right in the middle where the gear stick be standing up. And so it's like, we increase the fee. We thought we're supposed to intimidate people, but it's like, hey, catch me if you can.
And then when you catch them, now it's something else.
When you catch them down, everybody poor, y'all can't do this, can't do that.
Wow.
But you're looking out for the well-being of the children.
Child, exactly. Because if
you know, you
could
get a nice car seat for that same $500.
Exactly. I look at tourist islands. They come here. What if they didn't know that we had stringent car seats? They always bring their car seat as part of their luggage.
Sometimes they come with their luggage and the car seat could be a stroller at the same time.
Yeah, but
people have the booster seats, everything in their hand, and I look at them and I say, look at how these people brought their seats to protect their children, to ensure that they take their children back with them to their destination. But we don't care here.
Back out there,
they don't play, and I get that, but they don't know that we're not that stringent here. And I'm not saying that too bad place St. Kitts or Nevis, but they come with their things, they come prepared.
But the sad thing is, when our locals travel, they make sure they abide by all the laws when they travel.
And we disrespect our own.
Not down to the least person. Okay, maybe a waitress. When they go away, they so polite to the waitresses. But when they hear, the more the bad word police to get.
Yeah, but do you know that the car seats does expire?
I don't think people know that.
In the States, they do check for expiry car seats. Here we don't. We just make sure that the child is in a car seat.
Wow.
Right? So even some people have persons overseas. They can ask them to send the expired car seat and they can use it.
Expired car seat. Before we hear me one expired here to mash up
no,
the
because they don't want to buy one. Right?
Okay.
And we have not reached to the point where we check to see if the car seat expired or not. But up there they do. Right?
And
so
suggestion.
you could just let somebody send the old one to you, right? You can just recover it and the child is secured. If you don't want to spend the money on a car seat, just let somebody send you the used one. It already expired. They can't use it up there. They're going to go buy a new one. Right? So just let them send it to you.
Another suggestion, just as we made security systems duty free and the dash cams to assist the government. I wouldn't just say the police, but to assist the government.
So a dash cam never entail in a government vehicle.
I think maybe we could be duty free when it comes to car seats or both.
But wasn't it? They are.
Yes.
So
that
I don't even see what the problem is really. So
we
make
acting
provisions.
like a lawless society.
But you would see somebody, hey, iPhone 16. I order that tomorrow, and then when it comes, they don't mind to pay customs $1,000 or even $2,000 just to clear that phone. But to spend $500 EC
on a car
seat, it's hard for them. So we see where our priorities are.
And it's not with life. Not about life.
Mine is with my life.
That's yours. But
we just want to encourage people, as we know. This is the Labor Weekend coming up. And there's a lot of activities gonna be on the list. A lot of alcohol consuming, and so we're just asking everybody to be careful while driving. We know Labor Day is Monday, where they're gonna have the march and stuff. We're reminding people to be cautious of the signs. Certain roads gonna have cones and block off and stuff. Okay, so just be mindful and take your time. Right?
And have a designated driver. You mentioned that part there.
Yes.
Somebody, listen, you can't be designated and drinking. No, that's wrong. You need to not drink anything but water or fruit juice or a Coke or a Sprite. You cannot be designated and your blood has in alcohol. You're not a designated. You belong in the back of the vehicle too.
Okay, for the Labor Day weekend, roads will be blocked, cones will be placed, where there will be restriction. On the 3rd of May, that's Saturday, that's the Labor pageant. And I think it's going to be held at Carnival City. So that road will be one way. Traffic will be flowing from south to north. For the Labor Day march, which is the 5th, cones will be placed on the eastern side of Wrigley Avenue from Kearn Street down to Infirmary Road. That's on the eastern side. And on the western side from Kearn Street to Union Street. That's 1 to the 3rd small street on the western side. Cones will be placed there. They also have one way, which in traffic will be flowing from north to south on Wrigley Avenue, on Boone Avenue from south to north, and on Lockhart Street, that's where PAM headquarters is, it will be flowing from north to south. The signs will be out saying no entry, please respect the signs. And also there will be restriction by PAM headquarters on the western side. There will be no parking. So I'm asking the general public and the motorists please to adhere to these signs and these regulations that will be in place. Also on George Street, you know the march going to pass through George Street. Parking will only be on one side of George Street.
Okay.
So that whatever can pass through freely, let us adhere to this also.
You know which side of George Street you will be on, so for persons listening? Not yet?
No.
Okay. All right.
Best just to not park though. Right?
I like that.
Because
I like that advice.
the thing about it is the march goes the same route every year.
Yeah.
Right? And you know they have the band and the children and stuff. To avoid your vehicle getting scratched, right? As much as the drivers will not hit your vehicle, you have the children passing and people scratch up your vehicle, lean upon your vehicle and those kind of things, right? We try to ask people, just don't park there, just for the day, right? Just find another parking, it's only for a day.
Yeah, but
right?
for
Or a
residents,
few hours actually, because once the march pass, you can go bring your vehicle back.
Yes.
Yeah.
So just for the time being, we know the march gonna pass no later than 1 o'clock or so. Then you bring back your vehicle where you're accustomed to park.
Okay.
Right? So just avoid the areas them just for the weekend. Right?
Also for the Infirmary Road, traffic will flow from west to east.
Okay.
So you're gonna come from the west and go east.
Yeah, go down.
Yes, because that road is small, and once you have one way, the traffic will be congested, and that's why people usually park on the Infirmary Road also to go to the march.
Okay. So do we have anything to add before we bring traffic talk for this week to a close?
Just for me, just to encourage safe driving within the speed limit. Driving and drinking, we don't want that. We don't want that. Just to be sleepy, it's hard to drive.
Yeah.
So imagine being intoxicated.
Yeah.
So just drive safe. One life is too much to lose.
Yeah.
And
all lives are precious.
Yes. So that's it.
Let's have this weekend accident free.
Yeah.
Right?
Incident, everything free.
Accident free. We don't want no fighting, nothing at all. Just enjoy yourself. Right? Life is too short. Just enjoy yourself. Have fun for the weekend. Go back to work on Tuesday and be safe.
Okay. Sergeant Henry, anything to add? The gentleman just gave some great advice.
Yes. As I said, let us get a designated driver because remember it's a long weekend we are having.
Yeah.
From Friday to Monday, that's a long weekend and people like to party. So when you're partying and you're drinking, remember the life you save might be your very own. So let us get a designated driver to drive us.
And that designated driver should be a valid driver.
So no alcohol in the blood.
No, they should have a driver's license. Some
Oh,
persons
that
like
too.
to say,
Oh
hey.
my God.
Some
Oh,
persons
shucks.
like
I
to
didn't
say,
even think
hey.
about that part.
I know he could drive, yeah, he don't drink, so I gonna let him drive me home. No, ensure that person have a valid driver's license, and that person is covered by your insurance.
Oh, for real? I didn't even think about that part.
Yes.
Wow. A lot of legalities. So yes, not only the blood level, as Constable Bell said, please, valid driver's license and that person is on your insurance.
Yes.
All right. All right. Thank you, lady and gentlemen, for coming in and educating us once again. Folks, please, as Sergeant Henry said, the life you save might be your very own.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is Win FM.
Hop into extra cash this Easter with TDC Financial Services. Need extra cash for your Easter celebrations? Whether it's shopping, home upgrades, a weekend getaway, or a fresh start. With TDC Financial Services Easter loan promotion, you can borrow up to $30,000 at low interest rates with affordable repayment terms. Getting your loan is quick and easy. Just visit any TDC Financial Services branch in St. Kitts on Central Street and in Nevis in the Longstone Building on Main Street in Charlestown. But hurry, this Easter offer is only available for a limited time. TDC Financial Services, where money is made easy.
Every step you take. St. Kitts and Nevis, are you ready to step up for mental health? It's time to lace up, show up, and AM sharp. Choose from 4 package options starting at just $40 EC. Bring your best friend, your fur buddy, or your entire squad, and let's hit the road for a cause. Win cash prizes from $1,000 to $2,500, plus special prizes for the best dressed person, youngest participant, and more. Register today at any Development Bank branch or WhatsApp 869-765-4342. Together, step by step, we move for a mentally healthy federation. A huge thank you to our incredible sponsors for standing with us for mental health. Terms and conditions apply.
Let's stop child sexual abuse. The age of consent is 16, yet our 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, and 10-year-olds are becoming victims of sexual abuse and exploitation, which is being forced into sexual activity before they are old enough to decide. This causes mental, emotional, and physical harm to our children. Parents, it is your responsibility to protect and to educate your children. Develop a relationship of trust with your child. If they trust you, they will tell you. Child sexual abuse cannot be our norm. We must work together to correct this. Help us prevent, help us protect, help us prosecute. A message by the Department of Probation and Child Protection Services. Contact us at 467-1311 or 662-6833 for more information.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Welcome to Island Tea with your faves. Keep it locked in with us for your daily dose of hot tea, only on Win Media 98.9.
And we're back on Island Tea, and I know last Friday, whilst I was in town, I saw they were setting up something on Princess Street, and I realized it was going to be the launch of the Medicinal Cannabis Authority. But I see another headline here, local headline. Once again, it's on winfm.com. And it says, cannabis-related crimes persist as SKN continues legal cannabis industry push with launch of the Medicinal Cannabis Authority. Now, I have a little idea here. I don't know who's going to take it, who's going to fly with. Since these people are being, minus those who import it, right? Because I'm not going to be for that. But since these folks here that can plant it up and make it look nice, why aren't we using them in the authority, since they're doing such an excellent job at cultivating? And
well, I thought, from what I heard, I thought that was the trajectory that the authorities would have taken. So is it going otherwise? Is it going
But
contrary to
and
that?
that's what I'm not sure of. So I'm thinking, since they're being caught here with it, maybe having more than they should have, etc. This is me assuming. I don't know what they were caught with. As I said, one of them was charged with importation. So I'm not for that. No. It's against the law, whatever. But since we have these gentlemen here that seem to be good at this thing, why are they not, once caught, why don't we include them so that they don't have to do anything that is illegal and get themselves in trouble? Because obviously they have a skill.
Yeah, but in terms of what you just said, in terms of the individuals importing, I don't think that is going to stop even if we have the best growers here, because from what I've heard there, for instance, I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
hypothetically,
Yeah, we just
you
have
might hear somebody say they have Jamaica Red. It is a name brand.
Yeah,
You
got
understand?
you.
And it might be their favorite. So no matter what is grown here, if somebody's favorite is Jamaica Red,
We're still going to have incursions on ours.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, got you.
So we have a caller.
Okay, caller, good morning. You're live on LNT.
Good morning to everybody. Greetings once more in Jesus Christ's name, the only Savior of sinners from the sin and from hell, and second person of the eternal Trinity. Now, first of all, I would like to say that over the weekend, I listened. I was listening to a video, a local video. A lady, I don't know her relationship to the deceased, called Mop. But I think she's some kind of close, was some kind of close relationship to him, because that ends all earthly relationships. And the video that she made concerning the hospital was another devastating video against the hospital. And it was very, very sad to hear what she said concerning the bad treatment and service of the JNF hospital. Now, I've said it, I've been saying this since the Douglas regime. Now I've been saying, I'm not one of those kitchen who just speak for 9 days and that's it. Because I still would like to know what happened to the burning down of the courthouse. I still would like to know about the Billy Herbert report and other things. So I'm not a kitchen who just speak for 9 days and that's it. No, I'm different. And I don't believe the past in a time means that you are no longer responsible. You're still responsible, and no matter how much time passes, wrong is still wrong and right is still right. No. I said that, but first of all, I would like to say, which I should have started off with, we need to become a republic, because we need to get some kind of semblance of independence, true independence. We need to become a republic, and we need to start pushing that movement again. I should have said that first. But go on to the point that I was making. So, and I've been saying since the Douglas regime that we need, if we want the best services, we need to privatize our institutions that government are running, including but not limited to the hospital.
Who's going to take it over?
Hello?
Who's going to take it over? Who's going to take the initiative? The private person?
No, like I said, like the last time I spoke, it needs to be done in a proper, free market, capitalist, biblical way. And how it needs to be done? It's that government need to, in privatizing the hospitals and clinics, government need to make sure each hospital have their separate owners and each clinic have their separate owners, so that there could be competition in the system. Not give everything to one set of people or to a certain person, but decentralize it in that each hospital have its separate private owners and each clinic have their separate private owners. And if additionally people want to come in to set up their own hospital and their own personal clinic, fully allow that as well. The more competition, the better it will be. But I also says that we have to deal with things holistically, because government needs to be dramatically, at least dramatically decreasing taxes, government regulations, government spending, and so on, so that things could become most affordable, even to the poorest among us, so that nobody would have any problem affording private medical services or anything else, food, clothes, or anything else. So they not only need to be privatized, but they also need to be helped along as well by government doing things that I've just mentioned that would make them most easily affordable, even to the poorest among us. And that these institutions as well could maximize charity work as well for the poor and that sort of stuff, in giving them the best medical services, even in the charity works. Doing that, nobody would have any problem affording these things. And not only that, but because they're owned by different individuals privately, competition would be increasing, and that would be very, very good as well. But until we start to do things the Bible way, we will never, ever have the best that we can have. And not only that, but normally, when things are owned by government, the normal trajectory, the normal direction of things is to be getting worse and worse and worse over time. Because government and fraud, waste, inefficiency, mismanagement, and all those sort of stuff go hand in hand. Because government is not based on market forces. Government is not based on competition. Government is based on force. And because government is based upon force and not these things, that is why the normal direction and trajectory of things where government is concerned is for the institutions generally to be getting worse and worse and worse and worse over time as time passes. And as I've said also before as well, we all are born, with the exception of Jesus Christ, every man has inherited an evil, wicked, perverted heart from Adam. And only the Holy Spirit can change our heart and make us to have a new heart, which is to be a Christian. Until then, we are walking in the evilness and wickedness of our heart that we all inherited from Adam. And that is why God set in place certain checks and balances. And in the checks and balances, he has limited what government are supposed to do based upon his divine delegation to government. He has limited government. And when we do not obey his word and we have government doing all sorts of stuff, the evil, wicked heart that we all inherited from Adam express itself through more and more avenues, the more and more government takes on to do for itself, to do by itself. Is the more and more our wicked, evil hearts use those avenues. The more and more those who are in government use those different government avenues to express and demonstrate the evil, wicked heart that we all inherited from Adam. This is why the Bible shows us government have to be limited. Have to be limited. Otherwise, man. Hello?
Christians often quote and say that the heart of man is desperately wicked. And you're saying, as a lot of Christians, most Christians say that because of what Adam and Eve did, that we automatically are evil people.
The blame is really placed on Adam.
Here's my take. My take is that from a psychological point of view, I believe that we are programming our people and our children to be bad. when you grow up and you continually hear from the time you can comprehend that you were wicked, that you're, then it is likely that you will be that way. I believe that we should start thinking in a different way. I know you Christians are going to disagree with me, but I believe from a psychological point of view that we need to stop saying you are born evil. I believe that we need to start to say that you are born an individual. I've seen children growing up, and honestly, I've not seen children from babies coming up and they are evil. As a matter of fact, the Bible says that children will be embraced into the kingdom of heaven because they are innocent and they are pure of heart. So then that, to me, that is a contradiction that you're saying that the heart of man is desperately evil from the very beginning. I believe that evil is a learned habit. I believe either while the child is growing up, they are abused, or they are in an environment where they take a path down the road of evilness and so forth. But I believe that for us to paint everyone with this broad brush, it is just giving evil people an excuse, as I often say here. You either blame the devil, you blame Jesus Christ, you blame God, and you blame the fact that you were born evil. I believe evil is a learned habit over time. That is what I believe.
Okay, well, Quint, I ain't seen nowhere in the Bible where it says children are born innocent before God and they're embraced by the kingdom of God because the heart of your
I did not say there's a part in the Bible that says children are born. What I said, there is a part in the Bible. Is there not a part in the Bible that said children will be, however the wording goes, will be embraced in the kingdom of heaven?
Only if they repent and believe the gospel. Yes, once they repent and believe the gospel.
So you're telling me a newborn infant that is some months old cannot speak, cannot, decipher certain things and so forth. So when they die, they will go into everlasting fire because they have not repented? Don't make any sense.
What I'm saying is that from the time of our conception, we have inherited Adam's evil, wicked heart. So from the time of conception,
and that is where I disagree with you.
God are evil, wicked creatures.
That is where I disagree with you. I believe it is those kind of teaching that is creating evil. Like, for instance, if you have a child and you continuously tell that child, you're nobody, and you're walking down, you're nobody, and it sits in an auditorium, you're nobody, and when it goes out in the public, you're nobody, that child, it will take a very, very strong-willed child, which will be very few, to come out and not be, what you have programmed it to be.
No, but then a true Christian would not only tell a child that, but a true Christian would also tell the child, but if you repent and you believe the gospel message of the Bible, you would be saved from your sins and you would be saved from hell. And you will be strengthened to obey the word of God because that is your responsibility, to obey the word of God. That is the other part of the message that a true Christian would also be telling a child.
Yeah, but as Quint mentioned, if the baby is 6 months and it passes away, it's not with Jesus. It goes wherever because it didn't get the chance to learn the word of God.
Yeah, and repent.
Well, I believe that is the case. I believe that is the case.
You really believe something that Jesus created, he's going to throw away just like that didn't get a chance to do what it was supposed to do because of its age?
We have another caller. Greg,
No, not because of its age, but because of its sinful nature it inherited from Adam. And because of that sinful nature, we are all condemned by God to hell. From conception.
Greg,
I don't think so. That's not my belief.
Romans
Okay.
chapter 5.
We have another caller. Let the
caller.
interject. Yeah.
Caller, go ahead.
Yeah, hello, good morning. Yeah, good morning to you guys, man.
Good morning.
Morning. How are you?
Yeah. I don't that conversation is over my head, man. But I want to say I agree with him on the political side of things. The nation needs to go republic. We need to bring that conversation back to the fore. And the intangibles, man, the morals that was instilled in us when we was kids growing up from our parents, you know, our country has drifted away from those morals and, you know, good intent stuff. I don't want to attack the Prime Minister this morning, but when he went into Parliament and he's maybe seemingly trying to get credit for passing a law for underselling the passports to be a crime. But the ones who have been involved in that scandal, that CBI, they know underselling is illegal. They already know that. It's like stealing. We grew up hearing, "Thou shalt not steal." You cannot tell me you're gonna go in Parliament and pass a law and say we must not steal. We already know that. The AG makes a comment. They're gonna increase the pay for the parliamentarians to stop them from being corrupted.
But caller,
I don't see.
caller,
Go ahead.
I hear what you're saying, but it seems to me that the way the world is going, you have to pass a law for everything, because the police were just here and they say no matter how you say something, no matter what laws you implement, people still break them. So you have to come specifically with this and specifically with that. So I don't have a problem with the authorities or the system or the cabinet.
But hear the joke, Quint.
Yeah.
But Quint, hear the joke. In most cases, the laws are already there.
Well,
When they're
in
broken,
that case, I will agree with you. In that case, I will agree with you. If the laws are already there, then why did you not adhere to them? But if they're not there,
They just need to get enforced. They need to get stricter enforcement.
it seems to me the way humanity is going, even though people know something, you still have to write it on a blackboard for them. You still have to say, don't do that, you know, because
that's a shame you got. That's a shame you got to do that to educated adults, man.
it's a shame, but
the literacy rate is 98%.
it's a shame, but
It'll be 90.
that's the way it seems to be. You hear?
So,
I just
you
heard.
know,
I just heard the police say they catch an individual or individuals with a tint. They say, you know, it's illegal to have the tint, right? The person says, well, yeah, but. They say, okay, take off the tint. Take off the tint. We're gonna warn you and let you go. They take off the tint. Next month, they find the very same person with this same car, tint on, maybe even darker than it was before. Well, how do you deal with people like that?
Yes, exactly. You know, and I'm totally agreeing with you. As a society, we just strain, man. We're strained. Nobody wants to obey the rules and regulations and the laws of the country. But the average working people is going to always take the brunt, the poor people, because they're accountable.
You're breaking up.
You're breaking up, caller.
Yeah, you're breaking up horribly.
Yeah, we can't hear you clearly at all.
Maybe you need to change your
Hang
location.
on a minute.
Yeah, well, you sounded clear just now.
Yeah, hello?
Yeah, go
You can
ahead.
You can hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, what I'm saying is the laws seems that they just give to the poor and the regular folks. It's not what happened to the people in authority, the white collar crime. You know what I mean?
Well, that's a whole other debate.
Yeah. And the fact that some people might be trying to bring the debate up if we're going to go in Republic or not, right? The politicians of the day, they're not doing the necessary work that the people are asking for, the intangibles. Mac Mahon is talking about, you know, electoral and constitutional reform, and I'm supporting him with that. If we go Republic, it will give a chance to get those things done. So because the fact that they don't want to do the work, they're falling back and doing those things. And the country could be pushing more forward, more progressive. You know, change needs to happen for us to come. And if nobody's going to do the work, well, St. Kitts and Nevis is going to just stay like how it is. stagnated. You know what I mean? Me,
Yeah.
So do you?
Me in particular. Hold on for a minute. Let me just make one more point, and I'll give you the floor. Me in particular, for the brand clause and the dual citizenship, is that because the brand clause in particular, right, is going to come down to allegiance and loyalty. But if those politicians on the ground put their hand on that Bible and take an oath, and they're going to break their oath, they don't have they don't have no more loyalty, or they don't have no more allegiance to any one of us out here in the diaspora. So the reason why I'm trying to target this stuff is to get that pool of politicians, candidates, be widened, so we can have, and the persons in the diaspora who are citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis, by the Constitution, have got the right to come home and vote. I, in particular, believe we should have the right to come home and put our names on them ballots as well. The country, the leadership of the country, have to find a way to widen that field and to give all politicians,
Well,
all citizens,
here's-
to give all citizens the right to enjoy the fruits of their citizenship.
Here's what I will say to you on that. This is something I'll propose to you, whether you want to take it up or not. The Bryant Clause is there. It prohibits individuals from who are from another nationality, I guess, and also there's the instance of whether you're going to be faithful to your citizens or not. Here's what I propose to you. Here's what I propose to you. You come home, give up your citizenship, get elected. When you get elected, then you pass a law that says that disposes of the Bryant Clause, so then individuals can come home after you've gotten in power and you get rid of that law. People can come home and the Bryant Clause will no longer be in existence.
And here the truth that the local politicians on the ground, they can do that. They can do that.
Yeah, but they're
They
not
can
going
do
to
that.
do it. They're not going to do it. So I'm saying the
It
onus
takes
on
somebody
you.
else to do
Yeah,
it,
the
that
onus
once
is
it's
on you.
gone.
And you have to give up. Sometimes you have to give up something to get something. So I say to
Yes,
you.
I understand what you're saying, Chris.
Yeah.
It's going to get changed by the local politicians on the ground. It has to get changed. It's going to more than likely has to get as for who is looking to get that benefit. And that's what I'm rooting and advocating for. Because the Bryant Clause is blocking certain citizens. It's like a barrier that needs to be removed. I don't really care the stipulations that they got with it. In other words, we as a small island state, we can do something different than every other island.
But that's
this
what
is
I'm.
something that's instilled in all the islands' constitution, but we can do something different.
But
and lastly, different. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
But I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying, and I think an overseas caller said that before. I'm saying, take the risk, give up your citizenship, run, win, and when you get elected, change it.
So that people can hold their...
The government of the day, right? A lot of those intangibles.
But to me, you're making excuses now. So you're saying to me that you will not give up. So your alliance is more with external than internal because you don't want to give up your citizenship, even though you know that if you give it up and you win, you can change, and henceforth from the day you change it onwards, there won't be that complaint anymore.
Yeah, and reapply for your citizenship.
Because winning an election in St. Kitts Nevis is not guaranteed. Winning an election is not guaranteed.
So you don't want to take the risk.
Yeah,
but then
exactly.
you
It's not
can,
guaranteed.
as Cartencia was saying, you can always reapply for your citizenship again.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
maybe,
you have
other
no
options.
excuse.
Now,
So you have no
there's
excuse.
other options, yes, and I'll try to explore them. I'll try to explore them as much as I can. But like I say, there's other issues that the citizens are calling for change, and it's not happening because when the government get in when these guys when they're in upper chance, they're campaigning for certain things, and then when they get it, don't make the necessary changes.
Anyway, caller. Greg has been waiting patiently, so I think Greg.
Okay, let me just make one quick point. And then I can get off.
Yes.
The one Banky over in Nevis, he has 2 shows as an agriculture farmer and as an expert in the cannabis industry. He's gonna have his show coming on Tuesday and Thursday night, where he's going to be discussing the cannabis industry and the rollout that they had last week.
Okay.
And that's it for me, man. Thanks, and you guys have a good day. Sorry, Greg, man, but thanks.
No problem. Greg, sorry about that.
No. It's okay. But let me say this. There are 2 laws, 2 clauses, I think they call it.
Mm-hmm.
One of them, which people mostly speak about, is the Bryan clause.
Mm-hmm.
But there's another one called the Billy clause on us.
Oh, explain the Billy clause. I'm not sure if I'm familiar with it.
Well, I hope I explained it, but if I don't, somebody who knows better can come and do a better job than me. But this is to the best of my memory.
Yes.
It is a law that, well, okay. The first one that we spoke about is the Bryan clause.
Yes.
We label say, hey, Pam made this law because to do it with Bryan. Okay?
Yes.
I think to prevent him from running for office, something like that.
Yes.
But then Pam also come back and says, I think this was done in the 70s, and I think so, that
Labor
yes came up with a law to say that, because this one was aimed against Billy Hobart, that if you run for office and you lose, I think this you cannot work for government, either that or you cannot get a certain position in government.
Oh.
So in other words,
that is strange.
Either you cannot be employed by government.
If that is true, then that goes against democracy.
Yep.
Because it means that because you express yourself and you show that that henceforth you are ostracized.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that. But I'm not sure
I don't know about that one.
Yeah, if that exists, then it would have to be looked at.
Yeah, both of them do exist. Both of them do exist. But
Greg, give me can I have the name for that one again?
Well, it is nicknamed the Billy clause.
The Billy clause,
Billy
okay.
Hobart, based upon
I figured, yeah.
It is called the Billy clause. So if you run for government, lose a seat, but you didn't get elected, it is either you cannot be employed by government, or you cannot be employed by government beyond a certain point. One of the two. Somebody who knows better than me can come on and better explain it. But it's one out of those two.
Okay, we have another caller.
Okay.
Hello, caller.
Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah.
Are you, before you go further, are you aware of the Billy clause? I'm not aware. This is the first I'm hearing of that.
I think I vaguely remember something like that. Basically, I don't think, as was said, it allows you to occupy particular offices in government, right? But actually, that is where I think we went wrong as well, in terms of there was then a flurry of new kinds of positions like what was it, ambassador, potentiary or something like that, and all these advisors. Before that, we never used to have these kinds of political appointments.
Yes.
Right, as opposed to public service appointments, and now it's gotten to the point where it's overdone.
Yeah.
Very much overdone. When you look at all the ambassadors and envoys and advisors and special this and special that, it's ridiculous, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
But anyway, what I was going to talk about is Greg. Is Greg? I think Greg, you're a bit too doctrinaire and dogmatic when it comes to government versus public enterprise. There are some things, right, that money should not be allowed to buy. Put it that way. I too saw the video of the lady making her comments.
Yeah.
And it is clear that, I mean, assuming that what she said happened.
Yes.
It does not inspire confidence in the institution. Okay? And generally speaking, what I find here is that you can get really good care at the hospital, and you can get bad care as well.
Yeah.
And it's too hit and miss.
Yeah.
When it comes to health services, you can't afford to say, well, we get it right 90% of the time.
Yeah.
Because then the other 10%,
yeah.
I mean, it's so personal. You're dealing with people's family and so on.
Yes.
They're going to take it personal.
Most definitely.
Personally, right? So it's something that you really have to try to get right all the time.
And you're right. You're right, because I've heard almost on a daily basis you will hear individuals praise the hospital, and almost on a daily basis you hear people curse the hospital.
Right. It's too hit and miss. And,
yes.
And that's we want the quality control, quality assurance to be of such that you get it right, really close to 100%. But to Greg's point, even in that bastion of capitalism, where there's this trend towards less government, okay, and more private sector involvement in things like healthcare and so on, right? I mean, just over the weekend, I was talking to a friend in New York who was saying, listen, I objected to them carrying my relative to such and such a hospital, name the hospital.
Yes.
Right? Because only black and Hispanics go there. And the quality of care is awful. Right? And that is the point. Right? When you have this perception of care like that, it doesn't inspire confidence.
Yes.
And yes, generally speaking, you get what you pay for, even in health care, when really and truly it should not be that way. Okay? Which is why, again, we've been based in the government for not doing something about universal health care. At least there'll be some standard by which everybody will be getting some level of health care.
Yeah.
Right? Yes, of course, the industry, if you want to call it that, is such that you can get very high tech. You can, as much as we'd like to think all doctors are trained to do well and to perform and so on, there are some doctors who are better than some.
Yes.
Yeah, specialists and so on. And obviously the price increases as you go up the chain.
Yeah.
Right? Unfortunately, that's the reality. Okay? But we're saying that there should be some basic level that everybody and standard and regulation that the ordinary citizen can feel confident that when it goes to an institution, it'll be well taken care of.
Yeah, Greg.
Money. Yes, I'm here.
Mr. McMahon, I want Greg to occasionally, be able to come in.
Yeah, but Mr. McMahon is speaking a bit too soft, though.
He sounds loud and clear to me, Mr. McMahon.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but he ain't coming through that loud and clear on my end.
Okay, so Greg, do you have anything? Do you have anything you want to say?
Well, number one, why people keep on saying that America is a bastion of capitalism and democracy, and so really puzzles me, because a lot of people who speak and criticize capitalism does not know in the first place what capitalism really is. That is what I find very often happen. The biggest critics of capitalism don't know what capitalism is, and they are not criticizing capitalism, but in their mind they think that they are.
Quinn,
yes.
If you, tell them don't concentrate on capitalism. We're talking about private sector, and public sector involvement in something like healthcare.
Okay.
Right. That is the issue.
So, Mr. McMahon, do you think if the health services were privatized, that care would have been of utmost importance and better than what we have now?
No, and I'm saying that's not necessarily so. What we know for sure would happen is that the cost of delivering that health care is probably likely
to go up.
To go up.
Yeah.
Because generally speaking, because if the basis is competition, you want to be able to say that your institution have the best equipment, the best doctors, the best everything.
Yeah.
Okay?
And there's a cost for
that.
that.
Comes with a cost, exactly. Right? And not only that, in this particular instance with the lady, what it sounded like was not that she was complaining about the facilities or the equipment and that sort of thing. What it seems he was complaining about was lack of empathy, the customer service side of things, okay, the long wait, etc., etc. Those kinds of things. And those kinds of things can't be fixed by just throwing money at things like equipment and best doctors and those kinds of things.
And that
right?
is
that's an endemic problem that needs to be corrected.
And that is something that goes across the board. It's called customer service. And almost everywhere you go, you hear that complaint, not only here in St. Kitts Nevis, but around the region, you hear.
Customer service, I understand where it intertwines, but what does it have to do with saving a life? Because if these people end up in an emergency room in the States, it's going to just be like everybody trying just to ensure that this person lives. Everybody's going to be working their hardest.
Well, the thing is, right, you have to remember that this was a lady's version of events. Now, we've heard similar things before like this, and the authorities came back and basically gave their side, okay? And I don't know if that is going to be the case this time. But what I'm saying is, if her version is true, it does not inspire confidence in the institution, right? And having to come back and having the authorities come out every time something like this happens does not inspire confidence either.
No,
because really and truly,
they're reacting.
People should have confidence in the institution, that they gave the institution the benefit of the doubt as opposed to the people complaining.
Yeah.
Right? I think that is the
and Hortensia, in relation to what you were saying about when somebody is, in a critical situation, when we say customer service, we're not speaking about when you wind up in that critical situation where you're in the theater, it's a life and death.
You're just talking overall.
We're talking from customer service for us is from the time you enter the doors, maybe even the ambulance.
Okay.
From the time you enter anything relating to the hospital to the time you leave. Whether it's for something serious or something minor, how you're treated, from the time that's
you have
I
to
understand that part,
point.
but I was just making sure it wasn't saving the life.
Yes, no, we didn't.
Saving the life, we can't. Yeah, okay, all right.
As was said before, if it's an emergency, you expect certain protocols and procedures to take place in an emergency, right? And that should always happen.
Yes.
That is the whole point. It has to be, everybody has to be correct at doing what they're supposed to do their job. Okay. I mean, I've been to the hospital, whether on a personal basis or with somebody else, and I was extremely impressed by the care and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But other people seem to have other experiences.
Yes.
And that's what I'm saying, that it should not be hit and miss. The quality control should be such, the quality assurance should be such that they get it right.
Everybody experience it.
Yes, exactly. That is what, and What you said? It's a pipe dream.
Well,
Yeah, it's a pipe
Greg,
dream.
Greg, you're kind of right, but we're trying to reach perfection. We're striving for perfection.
You will not get anywhere close that with government
No,
institutions.
no. But
We may not get there, but we need to
you
try.
need to aspire to things.
Yes,
You would
yes.
always-
Something
you-
bigger.
No, you would always
And not
be
only
having
that,
the
not
inferior
only
when it
that,
comes to
Greg.
government institutions.
But not only that, Greg. You should have certain minimum standards that you just don't go below.
Yes.
Right?
When
So
it
it's not
comes to
just
government
about.
institutions,
It's not
you
just
always
about.
get in the world.
It's not, Greg. It's not just about the top end. It's about
The service
bottom end.
overall.
No, because if you want the best,
Right.
you have to have competition. Government institution is based upon force, not competition or market forces. That is why when it comes to government institution, you would always be having the worst in services and products.
And why
so-
should
but you
that
see,
be?
but
And
that's
why
what I'm
should
saying.
that be? Why should we have because we
Exactly.
hear that
Because-
all
yeah,
the time.
because-
Oh, they work for government, they don't care. That should never be the case
Right.
because if they go work
And-
for a
and-
hotel,
and it's-
you're gonna
and
be
it's
surprised
not
to see
just-
that same person
Yeah.
has a different attitude working for a private entity than when they did for
Right.
government. So we
Yes.
can do it in government
Yes,
too. We just
yes,
need to
and you
stop
know-
behaving the way we
and it's
are.
not just the thing is it's not just
And there's
in
a reason
healthcare. You get the same thing in education,
What is
right?
the
Where you expect a private school to give you a better education,
than that of
right?
government,
Because they
which
have
may
the
not be the
better
case all the
teachers,
time.
Yeah.
the better facilities, everything.
Well,
right?
hold on. Even with education, a long time ago, I read an article where they were quoting Miss Rita Cable, okay? And she said, and I know that this also it happened in other countries as well. Long before I read where she said it, that the people who are most likely, as a set of people, to send their children to private schools are public school teachers. Public school teachers, as a group of people, are more likely to send their children to private schools than any other set of people. Now, that says volumes, a lot of volumes.
But nobody's disputing that, Greg. Why you think that is so? Because nobody's disputing the fact.
Because in public schools you have greater problems with bullies, greater problems with teachers being committed to the education. I've heard and I'm sure this don't be said in private.
But a lot of our leaders came from public schools.
Yeah.
A lot of our leaders came from public schools, so I don't understand. And before there were private schools, we were doing fine with the bullies in public school.
And
Let
to
me
further
ask
and
Greg,
to
let me ask
further
Greg one
and Mr. McMahon, wait.
Because
And
it
to
is
Greg, wait. And to further strengthen the point that Cortensia was making, I remember when I was some years ago when I was younger, that even though we have a number of private schools here, I remember for a number of years the government's public school, the standard, the level of passes and so forth exceeded the private schools.
What about the levels of dropout?
Well, we can't bring in every statistic, but
Where are we supposed to? To
no,
get the full picture.
no, we.
But
And now when you're talking percentage,
Yes.
you're talking percentage,
Could,
right?
could you ask Greg, since you can't hear me clearly, does he subscribe to elitism?
What?
It seems I would think I would venture to say that Greg subscribes to elitism. I might be wrong. Greg would have to. Greg would have to.
In public schools. It's not elitism in public school. We're certain people who had certain parents of a high percentage were either repeated and that sort of stuff, whereas those who didn't have such were kicked out. So I did see elitism in public school, but what I'm saying,
I asked if you subscribe to it. Do you sanction it? Do you believe in it?
Says a lot.
Greg, Mr. McMahon is trying to ask you a question.
And I can't.
Yes, I'm listening.
Ask him if he
No,
believes
ask
in
him.
the
He can
principle.
hear you. He can hear you.
Oh, Greg, do you believe in the principle of elitism? Do you personally believe in it?
In what?
The principle of
Elitism.
elitism.
Believe in elitism? No, I do not believe in elitism. I
Okay,
believe in meritocracy.
So I stand corrected.
I believe in merit.
Okay, okay. So do you think that the poor classes of people who cannot afford, are less meritorious in getting things like a good education, good health care, than somebody who is rich? Do you subscribe to that?
Sorry, I didn't get that question properly. But let me say this. Hold on. Let me say, when the government took over the schools, okay? The lot of private schools and that stuff, when government took them over. Sorry. Not the private schools, the grammar school. When the government took over the grammar school, okay? It was a system that was
private?
very much against people. When the government took over the grammar school, okay? Things became worse, especially for those living in the rural area. Because what you had was this. When the government took over the grammar school, once you live in Bastille, you automatically went to the grammar school. People who were brilliant in the rural area lost out because they were not living in Bastille. So because at one point,
Greg,
for the rural schools,
Greg, what statistics do you have to bear that out?
Yeah, because of this.
Greg.
We're over time already, Greg, so you have to break it down, please.
What statistic do you have that proves that...
I don't think they were keeping statistics at that time.
No,
I don't think they were keeping statistics at that time.
Whether they were keeping statistics or not, for you to bring forward an argument, you must have something to buttress it.
Yes.
So what do you...
Let me offer the evidence. The evidence why I said what I said. The reason why I said what I said is that at one time, I think it was the most educated or the most brilliant student in the rural schools. One of them, just one, from his school, I think, was allowed to go to the grammar school. Everybody else, no. Then it changed to, I think, the first three. By the time in around 79, 80 was the first 10 from each
No. By that time, we had comprehensive. By that time, we had
Greg and Mr. McMahon. We don't want the cross talking. Greg, when you hear Mr. McMahon's voice, please step back. Mr. McMahon, make your point.
Yeah, I was saying by the 80s, the 80s they had comprehensive education where everybody went to high school. Okay, so that did not apply then. Okay, but I agree with him that before that there was elitism involved in going to the grammar school, and there were some notable exceptions. I mean, I think like the Prime Minister, Dr. Denzel Douglas, Limor, and those guys who were exceptional. They beat the system.
Yeah.
Okay, but the fact is, when it became comprehensive, there was pushback against all of that, and even then, they still separated the grammar school from what they used to call the Bastille Senior High School at that time.
Yes.
So they were still discriminating them.
Yes.
Okay, but Greg, the point I wanted to make with Greg is that we should strive to end this kind of elitism.
And wrap up,
right?
Because we're over time now. Yeah.
We should be more egalitarian, and the merit. When we talk about doing things based on merit, I quite agree that we should do things based on merit. But at the same time, right, people's health, people's education should not depend on their
financial
right, and class.
Yes.
Okay. That's it.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah,
Thank you, Mr. McMahon. Greg, make your final point. Wrap it up, please.
Yes. When I went to junior high school in 79/80/80, it was the first 10. Okay. Whereas I heard stories that people even with mental problems went to high school, what was formerly called grammar school, because they were simply living in Bastille. That was a terrible discrimination against
Did they have particular institution to send those
no.
persons
No,
to?
they didn't, not at that time, no.
Okay, so everybody had to be included.
Hello?
So that's why everybody was included, maybe.
No, everybody wasn't included. By the time I went to junior high, the 79/80, only the first 10 from each rural school was sent to
the high school.
The high schools.
Yeah.
Was sent to the high schools, whereas everybody in Bastia went. Okay, so everybody was not included.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is that it was more equal. It was more based upon merit before the government took it over. But come back to the hospital situation.
And wrap it up, please. Well,
yes. Come back to
Be
the hospital
brief.
situation. I know of no country in this world that have both government and private hospitals and clinics where the people, including the poor people, do not make the sacrifice to choose the private over the public. And lastly, I would like to say that Romans chapter 5, starting from verse 12 to the end of the chapter, tells us that we all inherit from conception Adam's sinful, evil, wicked nature, and that from the time of conception, because of that, we are under the condemnation of God to be sent to hell. So, thank you.
Okay. So, but what Greg seems not to understand is we hear what he's saying, but we don't adhere to that concept. And we're saying that not everyone has to adhere to that concept, because if you adhere to that concept, you're kind of brainwashing your child into believing that they are inherently evil, and the only thing that can save them is the blood of Jesus Christ.
Now, technically, I think that's the only thing that could save them, but I would never tell my child they're evil, because they're not.
Well, you follow the Christian vein. I do not.
Okay.
So we respect each other's opinion anyway.
Yeah, but I really don't think nobody's. I know we came here and we'll die eventually, but I can't look at the baby and say you're evil.
No.
Not at all.
Most definitely not. So we've come to the end of another rather interesting stint. And what are your final words?
Have a great Monday. That's all I can say.
Succinct, right to the point.
Yeah.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9 Win FM.
You ever hear Earthquake call and say, "Hello, Miss Lee, yes, it's me, Earthquake, I coming Tuesday around 10? No, sir. Earthquake does arrive unannounced, and when it come, it shake all sense and sensibility out of we. Remain calm, stay inside, and do the DCH. Drop, hover, hold on. Once the shaking starts, you know it's earthquake. Make a quick move to a safe place. Don't run to the door, we are any exit. Stairs might broke up or full of people. Elevator, avoid that, because you might get in and poof, power gone, and you're stuck in that box without ear. Take cover under a strong table or a bed, or crouch against an inside wall or in a corner, and cover your face and your head with your arms. Remember, DCH, drop, cover, hold on. Glass windows and doors, outside walls and doors in an earthquake, bad news. Take care of yourself. Most injuries during earthquakes happen when something drop and hit people